It is Reaction Monday with S&L. Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you straight from the Texans game to your computer. Thanks to everyone who joined the special post-game show yesterday. Subscribe to the S&L channel. We'll have some content on there, more big picture after we hear from D'Amico Ryans in a few hours. But yesterday's game, Cody, what is your immediate thought and the most meaningful thought that comes to your mind after yesterday's game?
Yesterday, as they defeated the Dolphins 20-12, and as we watched that game unfold, it became extremely clear to me, and it confirmed the suspicions that we've had for the better part of the back half of the season. That's how they win football games. That's who they are as a football team. Like, they are a defense-first team, not a run-first team where the defense helps them out, not a pass-first team where the defense finishes it off like many of us thought they would be when this season began. They are a defense-first team, and if the defense is on that day, they've got a great shot to win the football game. If the defense is kind of on, they're going to need a little help from the offense, but you can't count on the offense. That, to me, yesterday confirmed that's who they are. That's what 2024 is for the Houston Texans, and that's what these final three regular season games and however long that playoff run goes, that's what this team is. It's a defense-first team that gets a little help from the offense here or there, and that's how you win football games. And it was confirmed, rubber stamp it. That's who they are here in 2024. That's what yesterday meant to me.
And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I just think it's reality. You
Yep.
know, and that's not, it's not a knock on what the offense is. It's just an acceptance of reality. And I'll say this, because a lot of times when you talk about a football team like this, you say, well, is their ceiling limited? I would say somewhat this ceiling is limited because of the limitations you have on offense. But I will say this, and this is why it's kind of a unique situation for me. Because usually whenever you're going to have to lean on a defense, like the Texans have to lean on a defense, and yesterday the defense provided 17, defense/special teams provided 17 of the 20 points, because you had two drives that started on the 5. If you count I know technically it's a drive, but the fake punt puts the ball on the 5. And you had the strip sack from Will Anderson that started on the 28-yard line. Usually when you say this, like you say, well, this offense is limited and they're going to have to lean on the defense, it's because your quarterback doesn't have elite skills and he doesn't have talent. Like, if we're talking about like an elite level, we're talking about the Ray Lewis Ravens with the first Super Bowl, and 2000, the Brad Johnson Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those guys, they were doing that as a result of limitations at the quarterback position. The Texans aren't doing that. And the reason why that's so significant is because when your defense is playing at an elite level and they give you those opportunities, they're putting the quarterback in position to where if he can make plays like C.J. Stroud did twice to Nico Collins in the red zone, even if Nico Collins has a moderate day, you're able to win games. And that's why, like, when you talk about this, like, part of it is I'm listening to Cody sit here and say what he's saying, and I'm like, oh, man. Like, if I'm a Texans fan, I'm sitting there like, oh, man, we're not doing a damn thing this year. That sucks. But I don't necessarily think that's the case, because when Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans had a synchronized, unified message 2 weeks ago, and they said they were going to lean on their strengths, I think that's important, because to me, lean on strengths equals accept reality. And I think that's the key to the Texans winning games, is you got to accept reality. You don't go out there and try to run the ball 45 times and rely on your offense. You don't go out there and try to throw the ball and get the ball to receivers that aren't getting open. You accept reality. And I think this week, which was a very big win, and you were able to solidify the AFC South, I think this was about accepting reality. And I agree with you that it was a visual of what it looks like when this team is going to win at a high level. Now, how high that level is still TBD.
Yeah, you could almost watch the acceptance of, yep, defense is balling out. We're going to give them the opportunity to finish this thing off in the Texans' final real offensive drive. Not the kneel it out game is over, but the Texans, I mean, that was flat out. Yeah, maybe Mixon breaks a couple of runs here, but they got the ball back right outside of 3 minutes, and Joe Mixon lost 2 yards. They ran the ball with Joe Mixon again. It went to the 2-minute warning, and they came out, and obviously CJ got sacked, but they were clearly running a play that maybe they felt like was going to stay in bounds and at least run the clock, make Miami burn that final timeout. CJ gets sacked, time runs anyway. Miami uses the timeout, and they just put it on the defense. Next thing you know, game's over. Like, that's like a micro, like, in that game. Big picture, they're a defensive team, and that's okay. That's okay, because it's a really damn good defense. Like, there's some teams that have to play good defense because they can't trust their offense at all. Zero, zilch. There's nothing to get excited about over on that offense. Like, the Texans are a team that, hey, on occasion, they're going to be able to run it down your throat with Joe Mixon. Hey, on occasion, Nico Collins is going to be able to take the top off of the opposing team's defense and have a huge day. Hey, CJ Stroud still makes some incredible plays here or there, but leaning on a really, really good defense that's got really solid players at the bare minimum at every level, and they've got great players at a couple of spots, it's not the worst thing in the world, and that's where the Texans are right now, and that's certainly okay for how good a defense they do have.
Let's talk about one of the more polarizing topics of the year. It is S&L. Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you. Subscribe to both of our channels. Subscribe to the written word. HOU football with Cody Stoots. We'll be at D'Amico Ryan's presser. We'll be live on the S&L channel, man. We are pushing 1.5K, and we were rolling deep yesterday. You can subscribe to that. The link is in the description. But the offensive line, there was a shuffle on the offensive line. Aaron Wilson had the report. Also put on a hell of a performance in the press box yesterday. Yeah, the thoughts on the new offensive line and the shuffle. Titus Howard back to guard, Blake Fisher at right tackle.
I was really hoping it'd be a replication of Jacksonville, where they could run the ball and the pass blocking was stellar. It wasn't, but it wasn't what we've seen a couple of times this year where it was awful. Like, it wasn't Indianapolis in Houston where the pressure rate was over 50%. They still kept the pressure rate to about 30%. So, CJ Stroud drops back a little over 30 times in this one. He officially has 26 passes. You throw in the scrambles that he had. So Stroud drops back a little over 30 times. They allowed 9 quarterback pressures, which is, I think, only the second or third time they've allowed less than 10 QB pressures in a game. So a little bit about, 30% of the time they allowed a pressure. That's okay compared to the fact that they were averaging, and their season average for most of the years sat at 40%, which is really bad. The 4 sacks, I could probably attune 1, maybe 2 of those to CJ Stroud. One of them, the Dolphins just
the last one.
Yeah, the Dolphins, Chop Robinson guessed right on the snap count. He had it ready, and he got shot out of a cannon, and he started it, got his hands on CJ. Zach Sealer finished it. They split that sack there at the end. So I'll attune one of them to CJ maybe hanging on to the rock too long because he was trying to do a little bit too much. But overall, the offensive line was fine. And for the first time with this offensive line, you got to think about this. Fisher, as much as we like him and have a belief that he's solid, he's got to knock off rust because it's not like he plays every week. I mean, he doesn't get in the game hardly at all. So it's not like he gets an opportunity to settle in. So he's got to knock off a little rust, get into a rhythm. He's going to get even better here in these final few weeks if they keep this offensive line configuration, which they probably should. And then Titus Howard, I know he played left guard last year, but he's got to get in tune with left guard. So hopefully that gets better as well. Shaq Mason is what Shaq Mason is. I thought Patterson was fine yesterday. Tunsil's very good at pass blocking and has some moments in the run blocking where he can show off. But it was very fine with the hope that it could be a little bit better here the next time they really need the offensive line to have a big day.
Swarming to the super chat. I'll get my thoughts. I got a pretty strong take on this offensive line.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm. It is S&L. Doesn't matter, Brian. Back-to-back AFC South champs. Says
it doesn't matter how it looked, Brian.
Well,
doesn't matter how it looked. Back-to-back AFC South champs. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Texan says, get Shaq out of there.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm. Well, yeah.
Got some bad news for you. that ain't going to happen. Short of an injury, Shaq Mason's going to play right guard until this season is over.
Yeah.
So, and he's been very disappointing this season. He's playing the worst football of his career. He was not this bad last year. He was probably one of the 20-25 best guards in football last year, which is fine.
Give me your top 10 since you're ranking guards.
Well, I just went through and looked at the PFF rankings before the season, Landry.
Okay.
I don't have like a
the top 25. That's strong.
Well, I mean, okay, so here's the process to how I got to this. I sorted amongst guards that played 50% or more of the snaps because I think it matters how much you play, and he didn't miss hardly a snap at all last year. And he was around 22, 23, and then when you sorted by 80% or more of the snaps, he ranked near or in the top 10 of most of PFF's ratings for offensive linemen. And so using those two metrics, slamming it together, I said he's about the 20th best guard in football. I don't think I'm overrating him. Okay. Now he's been feels like one of the 20 worst guards in football this year sometimes.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time. But my thought on this offensive line is this: look, there's going to be flaws. And I think it's important to remember whenever you see a new version of this offensive line and you can point out the clear flaws, what exactly it looked like when it was full strength, what it looked like before. So I think that is extra important to remember. So was the run blocking great? No. Was the pass blocking perfect? No. But I think there is some hope. And I'll say this: I never want to experience a game day, whether it's a Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever day it is. I don't want to experience a game day in the next 4 years where, unless he's injured, Blake Fisher is not starting at tackle. And I want to see Blake Fisher develop. I want to see what Blake Fisher's got. I think the makeup of that young man is such to where he's going to develop into a good player. There's going to be struggles. There's going to be lowlights. Hell, in the playoffs, there might be some people pissed off at Blake Fisher. But just remember what we've seen from Titus Howard the last few years. At this point, you cut your losses. Titus Howard is either a starting guard or he is the highest paid swing tackle / swing guard in the NFL. I want to see Blake Fisher at right tackle from here on out, for better or worse, short term, long term, whatever. Balance that out. I do not want to see Blake Fisher leave right tackle ever again. And I'll take it a step further, Cody. I don't think that Robert Woods fumble gets recovered if Blake Fisher isn't on the field on that opening drive where Robert Woods fumbles it and Blake Fisher goes between 5 or 6 Dolphins, whatever the hell it was. I might be over romanticizing it, but where there were a few Dolphins there, I don't think that fumble gets recovered if Blake Fisher is not on the football field. I want to keep seeing this young man develop, and I don't want to not see him on the field anymore moving forward.
I don't totally disagree with you. I don't totally disagree with you. If they kept Fisher at right tackle, I would assume that would mean they're going to keep Titus Howard at left guard, and they can make that work. They can make that work, and they can even make that work next year if they wanted to go ahead and make that work. And Titus Howard can make whatever his Twitter bio is.
Come on, Cam.
Whatever, but he's got to do what's in the best interest of the team, give them the best chance to win.
Well, you're going BOB all over. Best interest of the team?
Well, I could understand, but hold on. I could understand his gripe before he got paid. Once he got paid, dude, you're one of the 10 most compensated guards in or you're one of the 5 most compensated guards in football. If you're a guard, you're one of the 5 most compensated right tackles in football. You're one of the 15 most compensated tackles in football. Who cares where you play? Like the money keeps rolling in. Like the paychecks don't change.
Look at what Cam said, man.
Oh, come on, Cam. Come on, Cam. Now
he said Titus would have stripped Robert Woods himself.
Now, I know what you said, Landry. I know what you want, and I lean more that way than what I believe the Texans will do. What do you believe they're going to do when Juice gets healthy?
They'll put Titus back at right tackle.
Yeah, I do believe they'll put Titus back at right tackle.
Yeah, that's my thought versus what they'll do. That's what I think.
What they should and what they will are different. They should keep Fisher.
But here's the other thing, and this is the other layer to this, I think. And I agree with you, but that's what they'll do. But I think what they've done tells you all you need to know. Because this isn't a situation, and I'm going way back before I was even born. This has been romanticized to the point where we know this isn't Magic Johnson playing center when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar gets hurt and doing what needs to be done. If Titus Howard were an elite right tackle, then they wouldn't even be flirting with this idea. They wouldn't be like if Titus Howard were as good at what he does as Laramie Tunsil is at what he does, and we can nitpick that too. They're not moving him to guard. They're not doing that. They would figure something out, and they would do something in-house to figure out what the hell they want to do there. So this is not like, and they're going to sell it as, this is Titus stepping up and doing what the team needs. No, this is an example of you don't have an elite right tackle, and he happens to be able to be a guard, and we also drafted a young right tackle. That's what it is. Because if Titus Howard were an elite tackle, he's not playing guard right now. So they've accepted that. Even though I agree with you what they'll do, they've accepted that they probably overpaid for Titus Howard. Oh, and good for him for getting it. But that was, that they've accepted that. They know that. We all know that.
The biggest gripe about the Howard deal is you didn't have to do it. That's my biggest gripe. And maybe he plays another season. He got hurt in training camp and then played. But maybe he plays and the number changes. It's a little bit less. So that he didn't have to sign him, and it didn't feel like certainly at that number it made a lot of sense. There was certainly some projection built into those numbers, and if he'd gone on to what you said, be one of the better right tackles in football, you'd be a little bit more okay with that number. But that's not the case, and now he's your starting left guard until Juice Scruggs is healthy. Then they'll have a decision to make. I would say that it's easier to keep Scruggs on the bench than to bench Fisher if Fisher plays well while Scruggs is out. Because if this works, if they get a nice little baseline for this offensive line, then don't make any changes. Don't upset the apple cart if it's working. They've probably got the next 2 games to figure it out too, because I don't believe Juice is going to be ready for the next 2, short of some healing miracle.
Well, I'll say this: if Titus is on the team next year at camp, make him compete to be the starting guard, and then he can be your swing tackle, and then after that you can cut your losses. Because I want to see what Blake Fisher can be. He's the long-term guy. Like when C.J. Stroud's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in football, which we believe is going to happen. One of those guys that's protecting whether his blind side or his non-blind side is going to be Blake Fisher. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's not like some massive drop off. There's going to be lowlights. Like we're going to see him get turned around. We're going to see him get bulldozed. That happens every once in a while. But I just think keep the guy in there and see what happens. So that's the thoughts on the offensive line, unless you have any more. I've met my offensive line quota.
I just know that there's a high chance that you're disappointed at some point this season when Juice is healthy.
No, I'm not disappointed. That's what they're going to do. I know that. Yeah, I'm just saying what they should do. I'm just saying. Well,
if you don't get to watch Fisher, it's going to be disappointing.
No, I'll accept it. It'll be fine. Look, I didn't want them.
Okay, well, it'll be disappointing for me. I want to see more of him.
Yeah, I didn't want him to extend Titus.
And I'm one of the biggest Fisher skeptics around.
I don't even know. Like, if Titus Howard's your swing tackle, how do you feel about that? Good.
I'm not paying a swing tackle $18 million.
No, you're already paying. You're already paying. Like, yeah, but I'm not. Yeah, you've already overpaid. Like,
he's the starting left guard or he's the starting right tackle. I'm not putting him on the bench.
Well, what if Juice is better at guard than him?
Then we'll find out next year.
That's just kind of where we're at. All right, so the other stuff that went on yesterday, the Texans are AFC South champs. We'll get into that in a little bit. But let's get the overall thoughts on the offense. And Cody, I know you got thoughts on all the positions. Cody Stoots, overall thoughts on the offense. We'll do the grades coming up in about 40 minutes, the landlocked grades. I compared C.J. Stroud to a quarterback. Might not be the quarterback that you want to compare C.J. Stroud to, but I do think it goes back to kind of accepting the reality of the situation. Well, let's get to Cody Stoots, the great Cody Stoots. Thoughts on the offense?
I feel like C.J. Stroud was inefficiently efficient yesterday, and I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but there were some moments where he tried to do a little too much and it didn't work. and one of them led to a sack. And I think there's some stuff that maybe would have been quick stuff that he could have taken that he didn't take, and that could have kept the train on the tracks, kept the train moving on time, and kept the offense out there. But there's also some things that he did where it's like, okay, cool, that's exactly what you get out of a big-time quarterback. Both of the touchdowns, he extends the play. It's the scramble drill. He's got great connection with Nico Collins when they scramble. So they end up with the 2 touchdowns. That the one in the middle of the end zone was a very risky throw that only a handful of quarterbacks should attempt.
He made that throw. He made that throw a couple of times. Like, he was very comfortable throwing across the body against Miami.
He's done a pretty decent job in sort of eliminating that old QB axiom of, hey, don't throw across your body. He did it a lot last year and it worked out, and he did it for the touchdown with Nico Collins there in the middle of the end zone. He trusted his arm, trusted his guy, and boom, it was right there where it needed to be. And then the play where he was getting sacked and he was able to get the ball out of there. He still throws the ball. I know some of those low throws look like they're too low, but he also throws those balls low sometimes where only his guy's going to be able to make a play. And for the most part, guys made the play yesterday with it. But there's still a couple of just, hey, and he even said it last week when he talked about the advice that Tua, when he met Tua last year or this offseason, whenever he said he met Tua, take the completion. Like, get rid of the rock, take the completion.
By the way, Tua sucks.
Tua's awful.
He is a system quarterback to a T. Like, that guy, he is an absolute system quarterback.
Yeah, it's to a T, system quarterback to a T. Yeah, exactly. I like that.
It's got to be. I mean, it's
got to be damn near perfect, or he's falling apart.
No, you have to go back to 2020 to make him comfortable. He needs at least 6 feet of social distancing for him to be able to even be comfortable in making any throws.
Well played. Stroud, I just wish there were a couple of more. Yep, just take the quick one. The first thing you see, that guy's open, throw it. And I do wonder if some of that comes from where we haven't really been that good on offense. Like, let's try to get a big play and really get some spark going. And there's just a little bit more try to do too much to CJ's game than you're comfortable with. But he didn't make any crazy bad decisions with the football. Like, it's not like he was throwing back into coverage or trying to do too much with heavy coverage where he could have like thrown an interception or balls were getting batted down by DBs. He just held on to it a little longer. He scrambled a couple times and just maybe just a little bit quicker decision making here or there, and the things look a little bit better and are they able to move the ball just a little bit more from the offensive standpoint, but not super critical, but there's just some fine tuning from CJ. I'd love to tell you something about the rushing attack, but those 5 guys up front couldn't block for it. So I can't tell you anything about
and Joe was hurt, man.
Yeah, Joe got dinged up there in the game. And that's something, obviously, we'll get a Tuesday update on that because there's no player off day because they play on Saturday.
If Joe Mixon plays 2 games in the next 9 days, I'm going to lose my effing mind. I am going to lose my effing mind if Joe Mixon plays 2 games in the next 9 days. I'm going to be livid.
Go to Amazon and you can buy one of those little like jackets where they can like tie you up in there, or you can buy like a padded room because I'm telling you, they're going to play him. Okay.
Well, that's malpractice because you are so dependent on that guy, and you have earned the opportunity. This dreaded, like it's funny because all we hear from D'Amico, we hear from Nick, and by the way, the teams that you're playing are doing it too, and they're not coming off their bye. But you hear this, oh man, we got the dreaded 3 games in 10 days, 3 games in 11 days, and it's like, well, you don't have to do that now. You've got the AFC South. What you're accomplishing is not really as much of a payoff as what you would accomplish by resting the guy that your entire run game depends on. So if he plays 2 games in 9 days, I'm going to be livid, and I am going to question the competence of this staff.
Well, go to Amazon, see if they sell straight jackets, so
I don't think he plays both of them.
So
I don't think Mixon plays Saturday.
He may not coming off of this injury. He got hip drop tackled again, which was, no penalty. I'm glad they changed that rule.
I don't think Mixon plays. He was walking around the locker room yesterday. He was a little ginger, but he was in good spirits. But I don't think he plays this week.
So I'd love to tell you something about the rushing attack. There wasn't much to tell you because they didn't block it.
Put it in perspective. Dare Ogunbowale on the fake punt, that was enough for him to lead the team in rushing today.
35 of 77. 35 of 77 on the Dare play. Now, what I will tell you about Joe Mixon is there was clearly something that they saw from the Miami defense that they felt like they could throw the ball to Joe Mixon because he had the team's most targets tied with Nico Collins, and he had the most receptions on the team. He went 5 for 33 to lead the team in receiving, which, on a low offensive day, you're not going to have a lot of receiving yards, but he went 5 for 33, and they clearly felt like something from this Miami defense was in tune with them being able to throw the football to Joe Mixon. So that's an underutilized aspect of his game. We've seen them, kind of busted out for a moment here or there, but that was nice to see. Obviously, Nico Collins, he's one of the most dangerous red zone wide receivers in all of football.
They kind of kept him in check, though.
They kept the entire freaking offense in check.
Right.
They had 131 passing yards.
No, I know. And that goes back to the opportunities. You just got to take advantage of those.
Yep. And then you can sprinkle in a catch here or there. You can cancel the Amber Alert for Xavier Hutchinson. He made a catch for 13 yards on 2nd and 15 that set him up for a 3rd and short. So you can cancel the Amber Alert on him.
Whammy God says they need to sign OBJ. I agree.
OBJ's more washed than your favorite sweatshirt.
Yeah, well, I'm not comparing him to the top 2. I'm comparing him to 3 down, and he can be washed. He can go out. He catches the one that Mechie dropped. Promise you that.
There ain't nothing there.
Well, there ain't nothing there from 3 down. That's what we're comparing him to. That's the bottom line. That's what we're comparing him to.
Yeah, you're just not going to convince me that he could do anything for this team.
He could do more than what they got.
And then then the tight ends, we had talked about the offensive line, so I'm not going to talk about them, but the tight end position's a disaster for this team.
It's awful.
It's a disaster for this team. And, Schultz, it looks like a labor for him to get open sometimes to get things moving. Now he's banged up. He got banged up in this game. I would have a hard time thinking Cade Stover is even going to play again this season because he had the emergency appendectomy Saturday night or Sunday morning, whatever it was. So you have to cut a hole in a human to do that. So I don't think he's going to be healed up in time to play football again. And
even if it's not like he's giving you much.
Right, but I do think there's usefulness to having guys in the building that know what to do versus Irv Smith's been here for 4 weeks. He's played in 2 games, and now he's going to be one. He might be your starting tight end Saturday. He was on his couch for half the season.
Andrew Beck might be a guy to look at, but the tight end position. You want to throw up? Are you interested? Could I interest in y'all in throwing up?
I know what you're going to say, and I actually have a pushback on this.
Okay. You want to push back on this, huh? Okay. Well, Dalton Schultz signed a 3-year, $36 million deal in the offseason. It's pretty much a 2-year deal, essentially. So 224. There's no way he makes the 3rd. Might not even make the 2nd. Jonnu Smith signed a 2-year, $8 million deal with the Miami Dolphins. Pushback.
Did we want Jonnu Smith in the offseason? Did you ever think if the argument is Dalton Schultz is overpaid, he was overpaid the moment they signed him.
The argument is that they're getting a lot out of a guy that was just a mid guy off of the street that had been looked at as underachieving, and you're getting less than really anyone could expect with Schultz. So.
Yeah, look, Dalton Schultz has been a disappointment, and Jonnu Smith has been incredible this season. He might be – I'm trying to find it right now. He might be tops in receiving yards for tight ends behind Brock Bowers. That's how good Jonnu Smith's been. But, would Jonnu Smith be – would he be better than Dalton Schultz? Maybe. He'd still be in this offense.
Maybe.
You know?
You said maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
He would maybe be better than Dalton Schultz here.
In this offense, I don't know.
Okay.
Like, Bobby Slowick can't get anybody open, so why would he be able to get Jonnu open?
Okay. I would just like to see a situation where, I mean, because on defense, and it's not, it's about more than Jonnu Smith. Like on defense, you can find Tim Settle for 2 years, 6. And you can bring him in. You can find Derek Barnett off the street and you can get something out of these guys. Like on an offense that is so bad at skill position, where has even been like the effort to bring in guys that could help? Like yesterday when what was your first thought when Joe Mixon went down? What was your first thought?
No, they're screwed.
Huh?
They're screwed.
You know what my thought was? Damn. Hopefully Cam Akers can hold it down. Like it's like the way in which they function on defense, and the defense is the strength of this team, but they find players, they keep players, whether they're off the street.
Wait, I don't understand Cam Akers.
They got rid of him, Cody. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying like when it comes to the way in which they function, in which they add key players, that the offense is just the complete opposite. Like they just run it back. They fall in love with guys, and they don't do anything to add depth pieces. That's what my point is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but we can move on. The whole thing that we're basically saying is the tight end position on the Texans sucks right now.
Yeah, I mean it's not good. Dalton Schultz has underperformed, and if you feel like they should have spent his money differently and brought in a bunch of different tight ends, you're absolutely right about that.
Touch of Trent says, you'd think we lost the way y'all are talking. I think you're just sensitive, sir. I think you're just sensitive. We're just talking about the offense. And that's what it is. I think you're just a whiny little bee. But appreciate you for being here. More on the offense. Do we have any more?
Oh, no, I'm good.
All right, let's go to the defense. The defense. Now, this is where it gets really good. This is the straw that stirs the drink of the defense. This is the key to success. And the offense is just going to have to be situational, and the offense is just going to have to capitalize on their opportunities, which they did yesterday. And that was an emphasis because Nick Caserio went specific on what he wanted. He wanted them to capitalize in the red zone. They did that twice. They got 17 of their 20 points on opportunities created deep in Miami territory after the defense put them in position. Let's talk about this defense, which might very well be elite.
I mean, if you have to wait to put the elite label on them, what else do you want to see? They are elite. I mean, defenses in 2024, they're not going to be elite every week, but do they possess elite potential, and do they showcase it more often than not? Absolutely. Absolutely they do.
I think that the defense is elite in almost every area. There's one weakness, and it's the safety. And were you actually kind of surprised? Do you think this just comes down to Tua? Were you actually surprised that they weren't able to take advantage of certain opportunities? Like even the final Tua pick. And I don't know if Tua's just robotic or he's changing at the line of scrimmage, but did you notice like on the final Tua pick? Because I think you kind of nudged me. Tyreek Hill was lined up against, or no, it wasn't Tyreek Hill. It was Achane. Achane on the other side was lined up on Henry To'oTo'o one-on-one. And Henry To'oTo'o was like 11 yards deep. Like that, of all the times, like if a quarterback has freedom to figure something out, that kind of seems like something you might want to get.
I do wonder how many times the weaknesses weren't exploited because Miami had a bad offensive day. The Texans started the game by putting Jeff Okudah and a little bit of help over the top on Tyreek Hill. And it's not like they were, force feeding Tyreek and getting him the ball a lot early on to capitalize on the fact that Jeff Okudah was defending him. That was very much not the case. So eventually, once Waddle goes down, it's Sting and Hill the whole time. But they clearly were, okay, like let's use Derek Stingley to take somebody else away and let's kind of figure something else out. And a couple of times they had Kamari Lassiter, ending up on somebody else. But some of those first few snaps to have Jeff Okudah defend Tyreek Hill, I was like, I don't know if they're going to get away with that all game long. Turns out that's not what they did all game long. But there were definitely some moments where there were some Miami guys running free, running open. Tua didn't see them, or the pass rush, forced him away from the ability to make that play. So total defensive effort to not have those pieces exploited. And I think this is when they do have a guy that is open or that was, a defender that messed up, like they don't just ignore it. Like, oh, well, we stopped him on this play, or that play didn't go for any positive yards. So check mark, move on. Like they try to go back and diagnose, like, okay, maybe we don't always have Okudah end up on one of their best wide receivers. Let's figure out a way to do that. But I will say there were a couple times where Okudah was the defender on Tyreek, and then there was help over the top ready for it. There was a linebacker on somebody, and then there was a little bit of help ready for it. And that's all by virtue of you could trust Derek Stingley to go win a one-on-one. You could trust Kamari Lassiter to go win a one-on-one. But I did feel like the Dolphins kind of stunk and didn't take advantage of the opportunities that they had yesterday.
Mark with the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
It says, does Bullock hit make him hesitate on future games? Not at all. I don't think the young man was phased. I don't think his heart was in the wrong place. And I think he's going to be fine. I don't think it has anything to do. And it was clearly unintentional. So no, I don't think that it changes the way that young man plays. And you could see after the game, like he was legit happy to hear that the guy was in stable condition. There's nothing to worry about.
Dr. Aaron said he's okay. And then
Dr. Aaron just said he was all right. Like
he's like, and then Bullock was like, he's all right. And Aaron was like,
Bullock goes, that was, yeah. Okay. Well, that's the first step. He's in stable condition. Well, that's the first step. But Aaron Wilson goes, yeah, he's okay. And he's like, wait, they said he's going to be okay.
He's going to be okay.
They said he's in stable condition. And then Caleb Bullock goes, oh, well, yeah, that's the good first step.
Yeah. Dr. Aaron proclaimed him okay.
He's all over the place, man.
Hey, paging Dr. Wilson.
Okay.
Grant DuBose is here to. Grant DuBose is here to see you.
Okay. I thought you were going hangover there for a second. I thought you were about to get us canceled there. Paging Dr. Never mind. I don't know if people get that reference or not. You might not either. Did you even see Hangover? Come on, I'm just kidding.
You're an idiot.
I'm just kidding.
You don't even know how to watch a movie.
Okay. What'd you say? No, just kidding. But the defense, I think there's a couple of things here. Number one, I think you have an elite D-line. Tim Settle said yesterday, he said we have the best D-line in the league. I don't know whether he's right or not, but I don't think there's too many better. There's damn sure not many edge guys, if any, that are better than Anderson and Daniil Hunter. And you saw Anderson force fumble yesterday, and you saw Daniil Hunter do his thing, and you've seen Tim Settle do his thing. Mario Edwards was in the mix yesterday. The D-line is close to elite.
Yeah, the deal. I have to now go find who is actually the best defensive line in football, because Tim Settle might be right when you think about how good those edge guys are and just the various bodies that they can throw at you at the defensive tackle spot that do a bunch of different things. Like Settle can get tackles for a loss, he can get sacks. Mario Edwards can get tackles for a loss, he can get sacks. For the 4 plays that he's available, Foley Fatukasi can play. I felt bad he had to leave the game again with an injury. And then Togiai, he was flying all over the place. That's a practice squad guy they signed to the roster a couple weeks ago. He's been flying all over the place. Like I got to go find who the best defensive line in football is just to figure out if maybe Tim Settle is correct, because he might be correct. I got to figure out who's close. I mean,
yeah,
I guess Minnesota is close because they've got some edge guys that have had some success. Yeah. I guess Denver's close because,
I think they're the best. If you look at the edge, I think they're the best. I just think what they got coming off the edge is the best.
They came into yesterday as the best edge duo in football with 20 sacks total. They added another 2.5 sacks between the two of them.
Yeah,
it's if it's not the best, it's easily top 5, top 3. If it's not the best, so I'll have to go do some looking or talk to some football minds that I trust more than my own and find out who the best defensive line in football is.
Not you. Bullock's drug test in the background. By the way, Tim Settle had one too, and he actually took it down and said, "I don't want to get fined for this being shown or whatever." But yeah.
Well, that's something that they started 2 weeks ago or like 3 weeks ago. The NFL, they fine these guys. I think it's $15,000 if they publicly put out that they got drug tested.
Yeah, his wasn't intentional though,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, who cares?
Like I suppose I understand like they don't want the guy like tweeting out like, oh, I got drug tested.
Yeah,
but yeah, there. Let me see. Kurt Heinrich got one. He didn't even play.
Yeah, it's random.
Amari got one. Kalen got one.
I told Tim Settle they thought you were on roids with the way you were acting out there, man. Getting in scuffles. He goes, nah, I'll let him know. I'll let him know that stuff wasn't going to fly. This was before he's putting his thing out. I'm like, man, they thought that was roid rage out there. He's like, nah, that was me letting him know. And you look at the plays before that, the crap stopped. Yeah, I was just like, dude, this dude's wired up.
I have to imagine while you're having a bad offensive day, among the people that are the worst to line up across from a verbal jab standpoint, Tim Settle has to be very high.
I don't know how much he talks on the field. That's what I wonder. I don't know. He's kind of serious. Like,
I bet he lets them freaking have it.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe you could be right.
Because Daniil and Will, they don't say anything.
Yeah.
They're not. Yeah. There's really not. Maybe Jimmy Ward, just because he's around the defensive line a little bit by the nature of his position. Maybe opposing teams hear from Jimmy, but Will Anderson ain't talking no crap. Neither is Daniil Hunter. None of those defensive linemen that aren't Tim Settle.
Yeah, he's the man, dude.
You think To'o says anything? No. Like, so it's got to be. You're in the middle of like getting your ass kicked by Hunter and Anderson, and then Tim Settle's out there kicking your ass and running his mouth. It's got to be so annoying. Tim Settle.
He was on one yesterday. If you missed it on Twitter, I put it up. Tim Settle. He was in crazy form. I'm glad that you mentioned as we talk about the defense, and there's just a balance between the way you talk about the defense and the way you talk about the offense. I know earlier it was like, well, they just lost. No, I mean the offense leaves a lot to be desired, and the defense does not. So I mean, I think it's just kind of a natural recipe here on S&L. We'll get to the grades, by the way, about 18 minutes. I'm glad you mentioned Jimmy Ward because I think Jimmy Ward's an elite nickel guy, man. Like I think he's better at nickel than Jalen Petrie. And I know that Jalen Petrie sticks out a little bit because there's a lot of extra flexing afterwards. And he was really good at the nickel roll. Don't get me wrong. I think that nickel roll, he's going to hold that down for the foreseeable future. But there's a reason that Jimmy Ward was so respected in that role a couple of years ago. This is his best position. Like I know he's a better safety than Eric Murray, but I'm just bringing this up because I think I want to give him his flowers because I think that he deserves them. But I don't think it can be undersold that Jimmy Ward deserves some flowers because he's playing really, really well in that role, and that's really his strength.
I can buy myself flowers. It certainly helps if you want to have any sort of conversation with Jalen Petrie in the offseason about a contract extension. Like, oh, you want to play hardball? Well, we'll just play Jimmy there.
Yeah,
we'll go find a different safety. Go play Jimmy there.
Yeah, and maybe you wait and see. But I think Jimmy's doing a good job holding it down. As far as
he played damn near every snap too, which is for Jimmy and the amount of miles that he has on him. Kalen Bullock is a rookie. Yeah, okay, he gets deeper into the season, but he's a young guy. Same with Lassiter, To'o, Derek Stingley, young. Jimmy Ward been at this thing for a decade plus, and he's playing 97% of the snaps. Like, good job, Jimmy Ward.
Here's the other thing. I don't want him playing 2 games in 9 days. Like I want Jimmy Ward to get some rest. He needs it bad. That is a very, very. I mean, you look at importance. Like we're not going to list Jimmy Ward as one of the best players on the team, like we will Stingley, Anderson, all that. But when you're listing importance, given the fact that Petrie is out, you might need to ice him up too, and not have him out there as well. But I digress. Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter, that cornerback duo is nice. Now, the one thing I will say, if we kind of want to look at in victory what we would not ignore in defeat, man, and I know you feel the same way. As much as we like this defense, seeing Jeff Okudah out there is the awkward birthmark on the face of the supermodel, man. It is hard not to look at Jeff Okudah out there, whether he's inside, whether he's outside, and with all these great things going on, just be terrified that Jeff Okudah is out there and one big play away from the opposing offense.
It is a little scary situation, and you know he fortunately didn't play a ton. They did play him quite a bit early on, but he ended up not playing a ton. But one little hiccup with that defensive backfield, and they're going to have Jeff Okudah on the field. Yeah, it is a little scary. It is a little scary. That's something that hopefully gets addressed by a veteran or a free agent or a draft pick or something down the road. But that's the reality of the situation right now. Is he's a snap away, and that's a little scary.
But overall, we can just agree the defense just absolutely elite. I mean, my goodness, just beautiful. We'll get to the grades in a sec.
It's incredible. Stingley's one of the best defensive players in all of football this year.
He's the best corner in Texans history.
Yeah.
Is that bad? I mean, J. Joe did it for a long time, but there's never been a corner. And I know Aaron Glenn made one Pro Bowl, but he'd already made a few with the Jets. Nobody at that position has ever been as good as Stingley is at it. I don't even know it's close.
Yeah, as far as like how good the guy is, this is the best corner that's ever played football for this team.
And the 2-year stretch too. It's not just this year, like the 2-year stretch of what we've seen from him.
The return from injury last year through now, that's the best stretch a cornerback's ever played in the history of this franchise.
Yeah, and it's probably the best that's been played in the NFL, for being completely honest. And I do wonder, like, when they negotiate, like, okay, you missed time your first 2 years, you've been healthy this year. Do we seek middle ground, or does this one wipe everything away? I thought it was interesting negotiation, but when you start looking at it, and this is going to be, I mean, we're going to have this topic, like our off season on S&L. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Mine and Cody's in the S&L channel that's been popping the last week plus. I do think that the first year there was kind of a conservative shutdown too, with where they were as a team. So I think that will probably get brought up. It won't just be looked at as, you missed these 4 games or whatever. I think there was a little bit of a conservative shutdown too.
I mean, I would tell you that he's going to make
top 3, top 2, top 1 corner money.
Well, I would think it's going to be at the opening ask is going to be more than $24.1 million per year.
Yeah,
because that's the top number in football right now, which is Jalen Ramsey. Patrick Surtain has $24 million a year on a 4-year deal. So the top
thing is
he's going to ask for $25 million a year or more.
The good thing is that you got lucky. Not lucky. You did your thing and you found luck is good though. Lucky, good, whatever. And you found a cornerback that looks like a really, really good CB2 that for the next 3 years is going to be on a rookie deal too. So you can kind of balance that out a little bit. So that's a really, really good situation to see, where you're not necessarily going to be in the market saying, man, we really need to find a CB2. What are we going to do? You're in a good spot with the overall position at the top as a whole. So that's the good news for them.
Yes, absolutely. So we've talked about the defense. We haven't talked about what I feel like was one of the more impressive performances by this team, which is the linebacker, and really the 2 linebackers, because that's pretty much all they played throughout the course of this game. Henry To'o played every snap for this team, and he was Azeez Al-Shire, had the green dot on his helmet. He was calling the plays. He was lining guys up. He was in coverage. He was run stopping. He was diagnosing stuff. Henry To'o had a fantastic game, and really good performance from him, filling in a role that they didn't really 1-for-1 hand him that opportunity earlier in the year when he was playing and Azeez wasn't. So they got him ready for it, and he accepted the challenge and played an excellent game of football. And then D'Amico Ryans was very coy about, if Christian and this and they took the training wheels right off and threw them right out the door. He went out there and played a crap ton coming off of his serious injury.
Yeah,
Second most snaps.
They didn't even ease it in, man.
Second most snaps at linebacker. Just from a snap count standpoint, Jake Hansen got 5 snaps. Neville Hewitt got 2 snaps. Those are the only 2 guys that took linebacker snaps outside of To'o and Christian Harris. Like, Harris was out there, and I'm not going to tell you it didn't look like he missed a beat because there was definitely some rust that he had to knock off and get used to being back playing football. But the athleticism's clear. He was sticking his nose in there. He wasn't afraid to get ready and start mixing it up. And to have him ready off the injury, off the 14-week absence, that's a really good job by D'Amico Ryans and his staff to have those 2 guys ready for the situation that they were in, because they put those 2 guys out there and they got exactly what they needed out of both of those guys. And the linebackers, because the D-line is elite, because Stingley does what he does, and Bullock and Lassiter have been fantastic as rookies, we oftentimes don't think as much about the linebackers, but those 2 guys yesterday, excellent for the challenge, and excellent game by Henry To'o. And I have to imagine that former linebacker D'Amico Ryans was very proud of his linebackers yesterday.
Well, it should be. And I mean, there's multiple examples of this, and this is kind of what you expect from D'Amico on that entire side of the ball, but specifically at the position that he played at such a high level for a long time. I mean, there was a game earlier this year where you didn't have Azeez and you didn't have Henry, and you had Neville Hewitt and Hansen go out there and put out a solid effort. There was earlier this year where people were talking about is Devin White in shape. He goes out there and plays the strong majority of the snaps, and he holds it down. And then you have Noah Azeez, and there's all the drama, there's all the buildup, there's all the noise, and Christian Harris goes in there and he does his thing, and Henry Toto has one of his better performances of the year. This is just kind of what you've come to expect from this squad in that position group, and this was just the latest example of it. And I think the linebackers were excellent. Let's get to that third phase, though, Cody. Special teams. What do we make of the special teams? Frank Ross, we've been talking about a fake punt. That wasn't quite what I thought the fake punt would look like, but it worked. I thought there might be a different version of it. Don't know, just kind of, random thought. But we saw the fake punt, and it worked. And fortunately, he didn't fumble, because if he had, that would have been one of the worst things to have happened. But Frank Ross, those special teams, the only bad thing about special teams, and I might be nitpicking, not one of Tommy Townsend's best performances, but other than that, special teams was really good.
Yeah, special teams was fine. I mean, he averaged 50 yards a punt.
Yeah, he shanked a couple, man. I mean, he's been punting at an elite level. He was fine, but yeah, he shanked a couple.
The one,
I'm nitpicking. I told you I was nitpicking, but he's been good. He's been great, man. He's been really great.
He had a 34-yard punt at one point, so that's not.
But he's been great. He's been great.
Well, he's crept up there in net average, and he's gotten better as the season went on. It was not good early in the season. Let's not mince words. It was a really disappointing performance by him earlier in the season, but he's gotten much, much better, steady, consistent, and his net has crept up. I mean, just looking at it now, he's tied for third in the league in net punt average. So, that's good. That's good coverage combined with him putting the ball where it needs to go. So, special teams, gold star for you. And Malik Washington didn't get loose and change things for Miami like he did against the Jets the previous week. So, good job for the coverage unit as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is like complimentary football. A lot of times, when you hear that, you think, well, yeah, that means everything's got to be playing at the same time. No, it means overcoming your flaws. And when they say leaning on their strengths, like D'Amico and Caserio, that means offense is not your strength. So special teams and defense give the opportunity for the offense to make certain plays, and that's how you figure. That's what complimentary football looks like. It's kind of been buried, rightfully so. It's kind of like a coaching cliche, but that's what complimentary football looks like, and we saw it yesterday.
I do. One thing we haven't mentioned yet, and it's probably worth mentioning, and it got erased by Kalen Bullock doing what he did. But the snap that turned into a turnover, that obviously can't happen. I don't know if that's CJ. I don't know if that's Patterson. It felt like it was Patterson because CJ was still kind of scanning the field. And it looked like CJ was still kind of assessing where the defense was and where they were coming from. And the next thing you know, the ball hits him in the chest.
I blame that. I blame that on the offense. I blame that on just the overall vibe of the offense, because they came out and they had no interest in trying to steal points. Was that interesting? Because this has been a team that's called
I was
timeouts.
Furious at how they operated there.
Yeah, so they came out and they had no interest. Like, they let 30 seconds go off the play clock, and that was after they got 7 yards or whatever to Schultz on first down. This was before Schultz went down.
They got 9 yards.
Yes, they got 9 yards, and they had zero interest in even attempting to try to steal points, like zero interest in that. And I was fine with it, like, if you're going to lean on the defense, but it almost got awkward where they came into that drive with one mindset, which is basically, let's take it to the house. Then they end up getting more yardage than maybe they anticipated. They get 9 yards, and then they take their time and they decide that once they move the change, all of a sudden we're going to just eliminate that mindset and we're going to try to play fast, which they're terrible at, by the way. Like, they are terrible at. I think there was one time where they wanted to play fast early and Robert Woods or whoever couldn't
get lined up.
They couldn't get on the field. Then they had to go huddle again. Like, this offense trying to run up tempo is a hard watch. And that's one of the craziest things to me. But I think that was symbolic. Like, we can specifically look at, and you're right about the Patterson Stroud communication, but I think it had as much to do with just them coming out with one mindset, and then all of a sudden at the last minute just saying, oh, okay, well, maybe we should try here. It's almost like playing roulette. Like, you're playing roulette and you're like, you know what? I got 5 $100 chips in my hand. I'm going to sit this one out. You know, I feel good about where I'm at. I'm ahead. I'm not losing money. I'm just going to chill. And then all of a sudden, as soon as they spin it, you're like shuffling. Oh, I want to play. Let me get the red, the black. And you put it on red. You weren't even putting any thought into it. Boom, black. You're $100. You're $100 less. Now, fortunately,
Landry would try to play red and black on roulette at the same time.
Fortunately, Kalen Bullock, hey, you win every time. I might do that just for vibes. Play 100 here and 100 there.
There's two things that will tell you don't win every time. That's a 0 and a double 0, bud.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. But Kalen Bullock, fortunately, he was able to bail him out from that. But I think I did think it was a lack of a plan and a lack of a direction. That's where I was at.
That was very annoying. And one thing that we didn't talk about.
You were pissed.
Well, I said, so they run the play to Schultz. They get the 9 yards, and they're just kind of lollygagging. And I was like, let's go. What are they doing? And then Texans Cap, who sits next to us, Texans Cap is like, well, they got 3 timeouts. And I'm like, okay, well, they don't have to burn the time. Like, they still got, 40, 50 yards to go before you're clearly in field goal range where you don't have to worry about it. Like, okay, like what are you doing wasting time here? Like, man, that was annoying. And then one more thing, and I saw somebody talk about it, about the special teams. Full-time punt returner Tank Dell. Full-time kickoff returner Tank Dell. Got to be a thing.
Yeah, that's what he is. He's not important enough and a good enough receiver to not put out there. And he's a really good punt returner. And even if he was, I still think that he's a dynamic punt returner that can completely flip a game. And when we talk about leaning on strength, special teams, defense, a Tank Dell punt return, you got to make that happen.
Yeah. We'll get to the Landry Locker, Mr. Locker grades here in just a moment. Until then, let's get to some of your joys, comments, and concerns. Appreciate you guys checking in on S&L here on the Locker Room. And, of course, the S&L channel has for you plenty of S&L coverage as well. Peter says Townsend's ranked number 1 punt inside the 20-yard line. Yes, although I would like to know how many went out inside the 10, because I think that's even more impressive than that. Gio says, I thought they were pretty good in the 2-minute drill this season at the end of the first halves. I think they are better than you think they are. They've had a lot of disappointments in the end of first half stuff where it hasn't quite kicked into gear, or they've settled on a couple of things where it looked like they probably could have pushed the gas a little bit more to get a touchdown. They end up with the field goal. But they do they do a decent job of stealing 3 more than a lot of teams. I just feel like sometimes they steal 7 from they steal 3 instead of stealing 7 when they could have. And I didn't love, and I understand one of the CJ do too many things was 12 seconds or whatever it is after Kalen Bullock has the interception and the Texans run a long play, and CJ takes a long time for CJ Stroud to make a decision with the football. I did feel like he stole the potential for maybe one play from them. The next play, they end up throwing an incomplete pass to John Mechie on the sideline, and then they have to kick because they don't have enough time left. But if he makes a bang, quick decision there, maybe they get one more shot at the end zone. But at the same time, maybe they told him going in there, hey, you've got 2 plays, and then we're going to call it a day there and kick the field goal, put Kaimi out there, and make things happen from that standpoint. So that I was a little disappointed with that Stroud play. It ended up being one of the 2 sacks as well. But I got a hunch that, even if he makes a quick decision, they probably were comfortable most with 2 plays there, not 3, though I would have liked one more shot there at the end zone. If Stroud had made a quicker decision than burning all that time he did. After the Bullock interception, burned a little bit more time than you wanted.
Yeah, that play. I mean, they don't have a quick option when it comes to
no.
They're limited, man. Like Bobby Slowick. Like I know we like to say "damn it, Bobby" a lot.
Damn it, Bobby.
But I mean, they're limited on offense. And that's just kind of the reality of the situation. So that's where we're at.
All right, you go get your red pen, Mr. Locker.
I did. Landlock, week 15 grades. Do teachers still use red pens? Or is it just red?
I don't know. There's probably something where you can't use a red pen because it messes with it's too harsh on the kids or something. I don't know. There's probably
some
crap like that. Teachers used to slam papers. They used to say, Mr. Stoots, F. And I would be like, I'm sorry, I'm terrible. Now, if you did that, you'd be on the local news for child abuse or something.
More red on your paper than Colby Covington this week. Did you watch that fight? God, he was about to lose his eye.
Split his eyelid open.
He was about to get 2 more of those shots. He was going to be.
He'd have been a pirate.
He was going to be donezo. All right, so let's start with the grades. I gave CJ Stroud a B+, as in Brad Johnson 2000 plus. Look, the Texans lean on their defense, and I'm not sitting here saying that the Texans defense is the Ray Lewis Baltimore Ravens or that it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2000. But this defense has ability to make plays, and CJ Stroud is more capable of making plays than Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson. But on this team, that's what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to manage the game. It's very hard to imagine that this team is going to lean on their offense and the offense is going to take them home. The defense has to be on, and that's what CJ Stroud was. The 3 plays that CJ Stroud made that allowed them to win this game. The 2 touchdowns to Nico Collins were significant, and he also had a 3rd down throw to Tank Dell that was unbelievable. Might have been one of his best plays of the season. But that's what they got to do. And if you look at Baltimore and you look at Tampa Bay was just forcing a lot of turnovers. The play for the Ravens was where Ray Lewis stripped Eddie George, and they ended up like that's what CJ Stroud has to be. He has to be Brad Johnson plus. He was so B plus. That's not the long-term thing, but that's the reality of the 2024 Texans. Let me make that clear. I don't think he's that, but on this team, that's what he's going to have to be because there are a lot of limitations on offense.
I like it.
Running backs, you guys get a C-, and I might be generous here. The production says that the grade should perhaps be worse. I just think there were a lot of limitations at the running back position. Joe Mixon got nicked up. Damian Pierce, let's be honest, you don't trust him to carry the load. Dare Gumbawale either, and I did factor in Dare Gumbawale's special teams play into this. And Joe Mixon was a little bit of a factor in the pass game. Actually led the team in receptions, which kind of is what it is. So I gave the running backs a C-.
I feel like this is partially a you did not seem prepared part of the grade because like they don't have a running back too that you trust to just go in there right away.
Yeah, they kind of neglected that part of the assignment. Wide receivers D-. Get a D-. Nico Collins had 2 touchdowns, which is great. Jalen Ramsey kind of kept him in check. The whole offense was in check, but he just had 4 catches for 17 yards. He also had a drop that could have been a first down late, could have led to the Texans potentially icing the game. John Mechie, that drop, just inexcusable. For someone that, is not often called upon, you got to make that play. He did not make that play. Tank Dell in this game had 2 catches for 26 yards. That sounds terrible, right?
Yeah.
It's his 4th least productive game of the year. He's had 3 less productive games in his 2 catches for 26 yards. And then Robert Woods, he chipped in with 2 catches for 12 yards. By the way, that's his 5th most productive game of the year. 2 for 26 is the 5th most productive game for Robert Woods. Our 2 catches for 12 is his 5th most productive game. He also had a fumble that if Blake Fisher had not been on the field, I don't know that gets recovered. So that could have been a lot more costly. These wide receivers outside of Nico Collins, and if you focus on taking Nico Collins out of the game, this is probably going to be a recipe that a lot of teams are going to look at. It's rough. It's really hard in these wide receiver streets. So I give them a D-. The Mechie drop and the Woods fumble contribute heavily to that.
Yeah, there's a could have been for Mechie, and running a screen to Robert Woods and him not holding on to the football, that can't happen.
F for the tight ends. I mean, this is just, there's nothing dynamic about it. The blocking is bad. They appear to be in the way on more plays than not. I'm hoping that there's going to be situations and situational opportunities to where Dalton Schultz and his experience plays out down the stretch to where he makes a couple of big plays. And I still think that's a possibility. But there's no change up. And you watch the Miami Dolphins tight ends block in their screen game compared to the way that the Texans block. I don't want to say it's an effort thing. It's just not there. And they've just got to make do with what they've got, because there is nothing encouraging, nothing enjoyable about watching these tight ends play. That's just the reality of the situation.
Well, and that's coming off of Dalton Schultz's best performance of the year too, against Jacksonville, where he was moving the chains and scored a touchdown. But to be, what they were able to do with the tight ends there, that was very disappointing.
And by the way, it was really, really hard watching the Texans try to run screens after watching the Dolphins. And I know it wasn't like their most dynamic screen day for the Dolphins, but just all the motion, the movement, the way that they're set up, and then watching the Texans try to do one. I looked over to you they ran one to Mixon, I think lost 3 yards, and it was just, there was no hope for it. And I was just like, good God, this screen game is awful. And they got guys running screens that they just basically got off of the streets. The screen game's rough. Offensive line complete. I'll give the offensive line a complete. Wasn't awesome, wasn't terrible. I want to continue to see Blake Fisher out there starting, battling, all that. So I'll give the OL a complete. Not Titus Howard basically is at guard what he is at tackle, up and down. Run blocking not great, but hey, doesn't matter how you block with the running backs after Joe Mixon. So I'm going to give the O-line a complete.
It's fair.
D-line A+. It's hard not to be pleased with this. Will Anderson kind of changed the game with his strip sack. Daniil Hunter just continues to bully people. I'm almost surprised anytime quarterbacks get up when they got that physical specimen just throwing them down to the ground. I'm almost just like anticipating them being on the ground. Tim Settle's done his thing. Mario Edwards, I know he picked up the penalty, but he was pretty active. This is a really, really good D line. Got to give them an A+. You don't win without them.
I totally agree with the grade.
Linebackers get an A too. Christian Harris was immediately on the field. Henry To'oTo'o led the group in tackles. This is going to be a really, really good team at a position that many of us were concerned about. Once they get fully healthy, once they get Aziz back, they get an A. Give the linebackers an A. Give the DBs. Go ahead.
Couple of missed tackles keep them from getting an A+.
Yeah, I mean, I just want I actually like when I'm grading the offensive line complete, and I'm kind of grading the quarterback position on a curve based on surroundings. I have high expectations for this linebacking group, even when they don't have their best guy on the field, and I think that just kind of speaks to what the theme of this show is and how things have shaped up. The defense. This is the honors class. Like the left side, that's intermediate right there. The right side, that's the honors class. That's right. That's how we're going. So we're stepping it up when it comes to the grades here, and they continue to get A's. They make me proud. DBs, A+. Got to mention Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward's not going to be one of the first names you mentioned. He is an elite player in the nickel position. You also had Derek Stingley, 2 interceptions, perhaps the most impressive interception of his career at the end of the game. One of them just kind of hit him in the chest. He was turned around and there it was.
Right.
But I mean, he is running stride for stride with the receiver. So there is that. But I mean, that was in the breadbasket. Derek Stingley playing as good as any corner in the league. Kamari Lassiter, there's just an attitude that comes with Kamari Lassiter where if he's getting a TFL, you kind of feel it. I thought the crowd, by the way, was really hype and loud yesterday too. That was one of the louder games at NRG. They seem to be getting ready for the playoffs as well. They kind of needed a bye. Kalen Bullock, one of the better young ball hawks in the league. Without his interception, he turned that into points for the Texans when it probably shoulda, coulda, woulda been points for the Dolphins, and that kind of bailed out the offense and that turnover. So the DBs, they get an A+. That was solid. Eric Murray did have the penalty for the low block, but other than that, Eric Murray was fine too. So I think I think the DBs get an A+.
Well said.
Special teams, I'm going to give them an A-. And there's 2 things that happened that prevented them from getting an A+. Now that punt block, they don't win fake punt. They don't win the game without that fake punt. They don't win the game. Well, maybe they do. I don't know, but it would have been a lot more interesting. Who knows? 7 points. Who knows? Who knows what Miami would have done and how much the defense would have stepped up. So maybe that's not the case, but you had Fairbairn making his plays. Tommy Townsend shanked a punt, wasn't punting as good as he did. And then there was another situation where the game got extended as a result of an offsides penalty, which I don't know why the Dolphins weren't going for it from the beginning. Right. But on 4th and 7, they were going to kick a field goal. And we had Fadakasi had a costly penalty on punt block, I think, this year as well, that kind of extended a drive. If you remember, that happened here. There was the offsides, and that led to Miami going for it on 4th down.
And they ran a play into the end zone. So it's like,
yeah,
did those 5 yards make it that much of a difference? Like,
I didn't understand what was going on there. I think Mike McDaniel was hitting that. You already know he was hitting that
high grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
He was hitting that vape. And then the offsides woke him up. But special teams A-. And the coaching, I'll give it an A. I know you had an issue with a little something. Bobby Slowick's offense is still blah. I think it's as much to do with personnel as anything at this point. But it's still blah. Even the plays that they made, it just kind of seemed like it was CJ and Nico making plays. The defensive game plan was perfect. I thought it was an awesome pivot by DeMeco Ryans to once Waddle left the game, he decided to put Stingley on Tyreek Hill. I thought that was brilliant. And Frank Ross kind of speaks for itself with the fake punt, the way that you dialed that up. So I'll give the coaching an A. I don't know like what they could have done on offense from a schematic standpoint to do much more. But those are this week's grades. I know you had an issue when it comes to coaching with not going for it on 4th and 2. I was fine kicking the field goal. But again, we're probably nitpicking at that point, but those are the grades.
The Mr. Locker grades for the game. Fantastic.
There you go. Shout out to all the students, the honors class and the other class.
That 4th and 2 on the first drive. So the first drive, they start the game. That's the only drive they drove down themselves without any help and scored points from an offense. And that 3rd and 2 play is a great play if you're going to go for it on 4th down. That 3rd and 2 play, if you're kicking, is a dumb play. Like they ran a wheel route and they threw it to Joe Mixon, and Mixon made a great catch 5 yards out of bounds. And then they kicked it. I didn't like it's a good play if you're going for it on 4th. It's a bad play if you're kicking it. So it's a bad play on 3rd down, and then they kick it.
Is the QB sneak just out of the? Is it not a play for the Texans anymore? Like, is it just done?
Probably.
Just because of one incident?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a problem. Like that sucks. I mean,
put Davis Mills' big ass in there. Let him do a QB sneak.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, you have like it kind of seems important. Kind of seems like the good teams know how to kind of maximize it. Feels that way. But
yeah, and I mean, I guess they've the scary part about this team is I feel like if they had a 4th and 1 and a gotta have it, I feel like the way that they've operated the past few weeks, they try to run outside. They try to run like a stretch outside.
I mean, you would think Edgerrin James and the Colts were here with them, how much they like that.
Yeah.
It almost feels like ever since they played Trevondre Sweat once, they just were like, you know what? This was a really good
yeah, everybody's
Trevondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons now.
Everybody's Trevondre Sweat. Yeah.
It's like they just enjoyed it. Like they tried it for the first time and they're like, you know what? I really like that. Let's go to the super chat. Swarm to the super chat.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Space City Ballers, Stingley, wide receiver, Derek. He's talking about Hunter, Travis Hunter, also Frank.
That's
Rothko.
funny. That's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he probably. I mean, we're laughing. He's probably better than a lot of the guys on this squad. Mark says, any decent wide receivers besides OBJ to pick up? Interesting question.
Probably not.
I just don't. I don't hate the OBJ idea. I think in this situation, I think with him knowing the system and everything, I think that he would be able to make some perhaps big plays. And by big plays, I mean maybe a first down chain mover here or there again in the divisional round, something like that. It's a low bar. Is he washed? Yes. Is he one of your top 2 wide receivers? No. But on this squad, could be worse. Jarvis Landry was the other name that came up. I don't even know what he's doing. God.
How many times is Jarvis Landry going to get mentioned?
He even had a workout, brother.
For what?
I don't know. He had a workout earlier this year. Wasn't it with the Saints or something?
Jarvis Landry.
What happened to him?
The league told you he's not any good anymore. I mean,
what's with these LSU receivers being out there?
There's no. I mean, I'm looking at. There's just some like hideous names here. I'm looking at.
Let's hear them.
Corey Davis.
Oh my God.
Michael Thomas. He's done.
Hell no.
Isaiah McKenzie.
Ew.
Richie James. Chase Claypool.
Oh God, Claypool. God.
Hunter Renfrow. He had a 1,000-yard season and then just disappeared.
Fell off.
Chris Moore, remember him?
He was their second best receiver that one year, man. He was doing his thing as a special teamer.
Byron Pringle.
Chief Spare.
Marquise Goodwin.
What's Keese up to? One of the best athletes in the history of the NFL. One of the best athletes in the history of the NFL. Olympic long jumper, Marquise Goodwin. Shout out to Keese.
Can I interest you in 35-year-old Julio Jones?
No. No. Give me OBJ. Give me Odell, please.
Odell probably is the best free agent wide receiver. Like,
yes.
I mean, they got guys on the practice squad. They're not gonna. They won't even think about elevating those guys. So they got to find some tight ends. They don't have any tight ends.
Yeah, and offseason, we'll get to a point where they hopefully address the offense the way that they've addressed the defense this offseason. We're not there yet, though. You got to make do with what you got. Carlos, appreciate you, my friend. What is that? Is that a cat? Is that a squirrel? Raccoon?
Looks like a dog to me.
What kind of dog is that? Oh, okay. It's probably just a little low. Shout out to Carlos. Your CJ grade is way too high if your wide receiver grade is that low. CJ's fumble wasn't taken into account. CJ threw for 130 yards. He's holding the ball too long, and it led to 2 of the 4 sacks. Look, it was kind of a joke. I was saying B+ as in Brad Johnson plus. Like, I'm trying to say that this offense is a game management offense. It was almost like a backhanded grade. It wasn't like ideal. I will say though, like, I don't know, like what plays can you point to and say that CJ, I think that whole end of half, I think that was just a big mess of you don't want to, you're not trying to score and then you're trying to score. But I don't put it on CJ, but
the fumble wasn't his fault.
Yeah. The whole point. Yeah. Patterson just tossed it back there, and the offensive line are graded incomplete. But yeah, it was more of a joke. Brad Johnson plus. Although I would probably still give him a B- just based on the fact that in the red zone, I asked Nick Caserio, what does this offense specifically need to do? He didn't say we need to find a way to get the pass game going. We need to find a way to move the rock. What did he say? What did Nick Caserio specifically say? Because I said specifics. I didn't want generalities. I wanted specifics. He said,
stop turning the ball over, turn the ball over more, and win in the red zone.
Red zone. We got to win in the red zone, and they won in the red zone.
Well, they actually did exactly what he said. They stopped turning the ball over.
Except that one play.
And they turned the other team over, and they won the red zone.
Devin says,
Devin,
all the
come on.
Secondary border patrol.
I don't think everybody's going to be on board with that one.
Yeah, okay. We'll do that. Hunter Renfrow, Space City Ballers. Who says yay or nay to Hunter Renfrow?
I am still, to this day, I will not understand how he's not on an NFL team.
You know,
because he was, a couple of years ago, he was awesome.
And he's also, you know what else he has? Deceptive speed.
Race car!
2021, he went for 9 touchdowns, 1,000 yards, and 103 receptions.
He had like that 80-yard touchdown against the Texans. I think it was on a holiday, if I'm not mistaken, or close to a holiday with Derek Carr. Remember that?
I don't.
Yeah, he had a long-ass touchdown against the Texans. Long-ass touchdown.
And then the next 2 years with the Vegas Raiders, when they were terrible, he was also not good. And then he just hadn't even got a sniff. I mean, I don't even, you talk about workouts. He hadn't even got a workout anywhere. Like, all right.
He's probably just hanging out, dude.
Cash the checks, man.
Will he be in Austin this Saturday when Clemson takes on Texas? Will he be there?
He might be a quality control coach at this point. Who knows?
Yeah, he had a 65-yard touchdown against the Texans on October 27th, 2019.
Yes,
it was around Halloween.
That's his career long, by the way.
Yeah, 65-yard scamper right up the sidelines. That was when Deshaun Watson got kicked in the face and he threw the touchdown. And then John Gruden after the game goes, "Daggone Watson." Remember that?
Yeah,
I got the photographic memory. We go 16 to now. I got the photographic memory and everything. I'll drop some nugs on you. Daggone Watson.
Gruden thought that the Dolphins were going to win yesterday.
Well, I mean, that's not the craziest thing. It's 3 points.
It's not crazy.
Not crazy. I thought it was an opportunity. At this point, just bring back Will Fuller. He was only good in a couple of games. We had tank speed. Man, Will Fuller and Hop, when they were going, woo-wee! Will Fuller with Watson was something special, man. I don't care. We're going to be telling our kids about Will Fuller, and they're going to be like, who the hell is that? Who the hell is that, Dad? He sucked. And it's like, nah, you don't understand. You don't understand. There was once upon a time, this guy was awesome.
COVID year Will Fuller in 11 games, 879 and 8 touchdowns.
We'll go before that. Go 2017 Will Fuller. And 2017 Will Fuller was insane.
7 tutties in 10 games.
And look at that stretch, though, with Watson. But look at the stretch with Watson as soon as Watson took over. That's when Fuller was just, boom, man. That was a perfect duo, man. If they could have kept that up, man.
All right, so starting with this, so Fuller started the year hurt. I know that surprises everybody, but with Watson, let's see, 4 for 35, 2 touchdowns.
That was early, yeah. But
2 for 57, 2 touchdowns. 2 for 62, a touchdown. Against the Legion of Boom, the last game that the Legion of Boom ever played together, 5 for 125 and 2 touchdowns.
Telling you, man. He was a full with it, dude.
Will
Fuller was an absolute Will Fuller. No one will understand, dude, the way we talk about Will Fuller.
That 4-game stretch.
He's a full with it.
That 4-game stretch, he had 13 catches for 279 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Telling you, he was a full with it. And then go to the next year. Go to Atlanta. Go to the Atlanta game in 2019. Go to that.
The Atlanta game in 2019?
Go to the Atlanta game in 2019 with Will Fuller.
He had, 14 for 217 and 3 touchdowns.
Yes. Full with it, dude. I'm telling you. What happened? He should be on call right now, man. Like, of all these receivers, Will Fuller should be on call right now. But Will Fuller strikes me as someone who's probably skinny fat now, and he's just hanging out and just chilling. He was so sick with it.
It is remarkable that he hasn't played football since 2021, because that is absolutely the type of player that just hangs around on the back end of rosters, going from team to team to team to team to team.
But you know what else, like, about these receivers? Like, we talk about the lack of production, and it is S&L. We localize it. So these are the conversations that the hardcore Texans fans appreciate. We got you covered if you're someone that's just checking in, but the diehard Texans fans, these are the conversations that we live for, and we're happy to bring them to you. Be sure to subscribe to the S&L channel. But the other thing, that offenses, even like unflattering offenses, have and seem to have had, is like, there would be like a random ass performance every other week or something like that, where you'd be like, okay, this guy might have something. Like, this offense, like, the lack of depth at the skill position is such to where there's not going to be like any pleasant surprises. Like, maybe Mechie has like a 4-catch, 38 yards or something like that. And the local news channels and everything like start with a John Mechie story, the same one they'd been doing for the last 3 years. But like, remember Kiki QT in his first game? He had like 11 catches. Like, it was like even guys that aren't even in the league right now, like, these guys would just like, they would just appear out of nowhere and it'd be like, oh, wow, okay, well, that was a hell of a start. Like, he set the franchise record for catches in a debut. Move over DeAndre Hopkins and Andre Johnson. Like, Kiki QT was like randomly having games. Like, that's the thing that stinks. Like, Miami even has like Washington and stuff. But I didn't mean for this to get into a Will Fuller conversation or anything like that. But man, he was a full with it. God, he was good.
Yeah, Malik Washington, who was a 6th round pick this past season, 6th rounder, pick 184, and has a key role for the Dolphins. The Dolphins right away.
Man, shout out to Will Fuller.
Yeah, I do wonder. Honestly, I'll do this. I'll make this promise here.
Try to reach out to Will Fuller and see if we can talk to him.
I will make it in the offseason. I will try to find Will Fuller.
We want to catch up with Will. That'll be a segment on S&L. Catching up with Will.
I will try to find
my friend.
I will try to find Will Fuller this offseason.
Please. I bet he's hard to find though.
I bet he's very hard to find, but I bet I can try to find him.
He was so low key. Eddie C swarming to the soup. Shout out to Eddie C. We appreciate you for joining us on Reaction Monday.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Hard to enjoy AFC South crown with the inefficient offense. Looking like another early playoff exit. So frustrating. We're going to get more into that on S&L. D'Amico Ryans is speaking in like 90 minutes. We're going to be there on the scene per usual. And we'll react. We'll talk about the big picture, where this AFC South title lines up on the S&L channel. Make sure you're subscribed to that. S&L. We got the link in the description. Cody, drop the link in the comments so these people can do it. If you haven't done that yet, what the hell's wrong with you?
You're missing out is what you're missing out.
We got you covered. Less than a week out. We're about 1.5K there. I don't know if it's an early playoff exit or not. If the defense is going to play this good, the possibilities are endless. I mean, you've seen situations like the three examples I'll give. The Jets went to 2 AFC titles with Mark Sanchez. Why? Because their defense was really, really good. They had nasty, kind of a Bart Scott vibe right now with Tim Settle. And Mark Sanchez, when given the opportunity, made the plays that he needed to make. Baltimore, I mentioned Baltimore. Ravens, situational. Make the plays you got to make. Tampa Bay, same thing. I'm not sitting here saying that, go to Bet US and bet on the Texans to make the Super Bowl, but when you have something elite, especially when it's something like like the defense and there's big play potential, and you have a quarterback who's not just some game managing chump. We've seen Mark Sanchez make late playoff runs. We've seen Brad Johnson. We've seen Trent Dilfer. This team, the good news, Cody, they know what they are. And that's what's encouraging. And that's why this game was so big, is that they know what they are. We can sit here and talk about this offense, and it's very clear that it's a flawed offense. But the key to being able to win in big games, and this was a big-ass game against the Miami Dolphins. They ended their season. This was their last effort, is they know who they are, and maybe they needed the bye week to figure that out, but they know what they are, flawed or not. And they are leaning, say it with me, D'Amico style, say it with me, leaning on their strengths.
Okay. We didn't practice the say it with me cheer. So
he's Bobby Slowick. He needs to study. He can't take the pop quiz. He can't take the pop quiz. He's Bobby Slowick. It has to be perfect. It has to be laid out. I'm a pop quiz guy myself.
Pop quiz that. How about that?
He just flipped me off for the people on the podcast. Very, very immature of him, but I expect nothing.
I got two for you, Stone Cold style.
Good job, Stone Cold. Does it matter what it looks like back-to-back AFC South champs? Brian says Young Costa. That's a fact. And we're going to get into on S&L what this one means. Bill O'Brien lives on, man.
That's my favorite aspect of that, beyond how entertaining it is, and every time they win the AFC South, that will come up for the rest of time, is the fact that Brian T. Smith despised the fact that occurred and hated it anytime it got brought up to him.
Why?
Why do you think? Because it was
he got
Brian
punked?
T. Smith. It's because it's Brian T. Smith and he couldn't have any fun with it. Okay.
I mean, he's out there trying to put himself over like at press conferences, and then he doesn't like when it's
dude, he would snap at people when they'd bring it up. Like he couldn't just like laugh and have fun.
What would he say?
Like somebody brought it up. I'm trying to remember exactly what year this was. And he was like, "Oh yeah, well, real funny. Yeah, people always talk about that." It's like, yeah, it was freaking hilarious. And it'll be every time they win the AFC South for the rest of time, that will come up. Doesn't matter how it looks, Brian. Back-to-back AFC South champions. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Shout out to Brian T. Smith. Rest in peace. RIP. Pour one out.
Back-to-back ACC Coastal champions. Boston College.
Wait, he's not dead, right? He's alive.
Brian T. Smith?
Yeah, he's alive, right?
He works in London now.
Oh, okay. So
he works in London. His wife got a job, and I guess he moved over there. The only reason I know this is because McLean tells the story 3 times a year.
Okay.
And then McLean goes on London TV or something, or London podcasts or videos to talk about the Texans.
Okay.
He goes on with Brian T. Smith.
Good for him. Very good for him. All right, it's time now.
Brian T. Smith used to be the one of the columnists at the Chronicle.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know about the local media here. We got people like in other states and stuff. They're like, what is that? What is this failing radio station you speak of, and what is this this newspaper you speak of? Shout out to Jonathan Alexander though and Sam. I think they're doing as good a work at the Houston Chronicle as we've seen in a long time. I will say that.
When the Chronicle used to have columnists. They don't
only major paper in the is it I don't know, but only paper in the country that doesn't have one. You ready for it, Stoots? You ready for it?
What is this another where you make fun of me because I don't know what's coming?
No, you ready for it?
Are you ready for it?
It is time for landlocked game balls. And I got 4 of them with me here. I got 4 of these babies.
I'm glad you had the ball ready. You didn't have to go find it in the locker.
4 of these balls, baby. You ready?
Game ball number 1.
Game ball number 1. This one's easy. Guys, what more can I say? If you don't know what this football team is about, I got 3 words for you. All-Pro Stingley. Derek, come get your game ball. Derek Stingley, game ball 1. 2 more interceptions. Just absolute insanity. Derek Stingley, man, a few words. Doesn't like to talk. Doesn't like to speak. A lot of guys say they're about that action. He's really about that action. He does not like to talk. He does not want to talk. You almost feel bad when he's forced to talk. But Derek Stingley, easy choice there for game ball number 1.
But one of my favorite comments yesterday about Stingley was Kamari Lassiter got asked, like, what have you learned from Derek Stingley? And he said, well, Stingley doesn't really talk to a lot of people. And didn't really talk a lot at all, but he talks to me. And I was like, that's so true. I could see where he doesn't say anything to anybody until he has like a little nugget of wisdom that he just throws Kamari Lassiter's way. And Lassiter's like, okay. Because like Stingley, when he speaks, you're gonna listen if he's talking about cornerback stuff.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, and by the way, Mark on the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Don't forget about Braxton Miller. He wasn't making plays though, man. That was like a disappointment. That wasn't like the rando.
Scored his first touchdown. O'Brien screamed at him. Gotta hold on to the ball, Braxton.
Stingley's like a guy who, like, some guys just don't want to talk when things are bad, and then whenever they're good, they want to go up there and like speak. Like he just doesn't want to talk. Like he's just chilling. He's not trying to get clout. He's just doing his thing. So Derek Stingley, game ball number 1. That was an easy choice.
You're telling me Derek Stingley's not going to end up with his own buffalo wing sauce and a Buffalo Wild Wings commercial and all that kind of stuff?
Probably not. And by the way, that sauce Stingley thing is kind of aging a little bit. That's the dangers. I mean, it looked crazy at first, but the D'Amico impact.
Oh, it's totally flipped to Derek Stingley.
And we also got the question, could that be happening with CJ and Bryce Young? I don't know. I wouldn't go there, but I mean, it is kind of interesting just to see.
A little early for that.
Yeah, I think it's a little early for that, but I mean, it was in the comments. And it was one of the prime commenters here on S&L. Next game ball.
Game ball number 2.
That one was easy. Game ball number 2. All right. I'm going to cut this one in half, or you guys are going to have to fight for it. Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter, 2 elite guys on the edge. Daniil, another sack and a half. Will, you made the play that turned this thing around. Will and Daniil, I'm going to throw this in the middle, and you guys go get it, XFL style. Boom, game ball right there. They're splitting it.
I like that.
Next one. One of the things that this team lives off of, and it's one of our, it's something that we stand for, is next man up. A lot of times you got to rise to the challenge, whether you've been in that position or not. We talk about the big plays in this game. Obviously, Nico had 2 touchdowns. Obviously, Derek Stingley had his 2 interceptions. Kalen Bullock, he got an interception as well. But you never give up and you always hustle the whole time. And this young man, making a start, was able to recover a fumble that led to our first points. He also went out there and battled his ass off. Blake Fisher, come get you a game ball.
Blake Fisher game ball, huh?
Yes. Blake Fisher gets a game ball.
Okay.
Next one. Next game ball number 4.
Sure.
I'll be honest, dude. Let me just confess this. I'll be honest with you. I want to be completely transparent.
Watch this. These are my confessions.
My resentment for the original 5 offensive linemen has led to me really carrying Blake Fisher's water. I'm just being
The
honest.
truth will set you free, Landry.
I'm just being completely honest with the people, and I am letting this be known that I am the biggest Blake Fisher fan, and it has as much to do with my resentment towards the overall manner in which the original 5 offensive linemen carry themselves, and how Blake Fisher just seems to be a fine young man who's going to work hard, figure stuff out, and he could be one of the steps to where I get to break up that original 5 offensive line in some way, shape, or form. So I'm confessing that this is right here. This is the leader of the Blake Fisher fan club, and it has more to do than his actual play. I'm just being honest with you.
The people appreciate your honesty.
I'm just being honest with you, okay? I'm just being honest.
Your honesty is appreciated.
Final game ball. This young man, got to tell you, man, that play you made at the end of the first half, it allowed us to get points. He's been one of the best young ball hawks. There's a reason that me and Nick were more excited in the war room for this pick than any other pick we've ever made, including you and CJ. Will, sorry, no offense. He also was in a tough situation. It's not easy to be playing the right way and have to watch the guy, one of your brothers in this brotherhood of the NFL, get carted off the field. But you know what? You went out there, you remained a professional. You continued to do what we expected you to do. I'll tell you what, if this continues, this is going to be one of the best safeties in the history of this franchise. And I'm very proud to see what this young man has done. Kalen Bullock, come get you a game ball.
2-1.
Dude, he's a fool with it, man. And he's going to be one of those dudes who's going to come in. You know,
he is still like, there's so much growth to him too. Like he's still kind of figuring things out. And like, there's probably still moments within his game that like are going to get basically coached out and he's going to grow out of them. Like he is so good and he's in the right spots. He probably could have had another one. He said he was, I was like, I didn't know I was going to catch it. So I just batted it down. Like I feel like he got both his hands on it. So he's awesome.
There's such like a innocence to that dude too, man. Like it's kind of crazy. Like he's almost like, I mean, he's a kid. Like it's,
yeah. I mean, he's
just a kid, dude.
Their first 3 picks were all 3 in league.
Yeah.
And so you're a little bit younger than those other guys. Like, what was the thing Casario said about what was it, Solomon Bird? He's 24. He's got a family.
like he's like old or something like that.
Yeah.
Back on the soup, Gustavo. Does he have X? We need to fill up the page with it. Ish is hilarious. He's talking about Sting?
No, he's talking about Will Fuller.
Oh, yeah. We're going to find Will Fuller. Tracking down Will Fuller is one of the objectives. That's one of the interesting developments of today is, you know, we came into this, we wanted to make this clear that this is what the strength of this squad looks like. This is what late season Texans win looks like. And we've also established that we need to find Will Fuller. We've also established that I like Blake Fisher just because of my resentment towards the original 5 offensive line, which I think is important to be honest about. No, I'm just being honest. Let's hear from Tim Settle, man. I know that there's a lot of people who feel he deserved a game ball. Well, he had one yesterday. Firm under the armpit. Tim Settle had one. Now, Josina Anderson was also on the scene. She was doing her thing, but I think this is what you need if you're going to make a run. You need this type of attitude. We've seen it with Bart Scott when a team made a surprising AFC championship run. Tim Settle brings that nasty. If you want to get fired up, about the Houston Texans. Let's hear from Timmy time.
Little chippy out there today. What was it like getting back, and why did it get so heated out there?
They was mad. What Ramsey said, ask them. I don't know. I don't know why everybody want to try us, but it's not going to end your way that you want to try. But, I mean, that's part of the football game. It's a physical game. Sometimes people take it personal. I don't know why, but don't get bully balled.
D'Amico said he wanted to lean on the strengths of the team. What do you think is the strength of this defense and this team overall?
It starts with the D-line. I feel like, and then it just layers after that. From each level, it starts D-line, linebackers, corners. I feel like at times of night, when we weren't there, they were there, and when they weren't there, we were there. So I mean, it goes hand in hand. That's how football operates when your team's hitting on good cylinders.
Why do you feel like they were trying you? You said they shouldn't try. Why do you feel like they were trying you?
I feel like everybody knows that we're the best D-line in the league, and I feel like they try to get their point across and try to take us out of the game or try to throw us off mentally, and it doesn't work. But that's what happens when you're the top unit in the league.
What was the mentality with Azeez Al-Shaair out and then obviously losing Jalen Petrie, but still coming out there and feeling like y'all had that juice, that cohesiveness out there on the field?
Just stay together as one. Everybody that's out there deserves to be out there, belongs to be out there, and when your name's called, you step up. That's what Coach preaches, and that's what we go by.
What was your reaction to the hit on Grant DuBose out there when everyone was just out on the field for a long period of time, especially on the heels of the hit that your teammate had that led to a 3-game suspension?
We just want to play ball, man. We swarm, we get into the ball. Nobody's intentional. We just want to make plays. If you can't see that, then that's y'all. But we're not an intentional team. We just want to make plays, get the offense back on the field, and win.
Are you concerned about any sort of discipline on?
No. We don't have no intentional players. Nobody tries to hurt anybody. We're just playing ball. If anybody got a comment about that, yeah, y'all weird.
Okay, and what about the history that the team also made today as far as just having the head coach and the quarterback be on the team, same team that takes the team to the division twice back-to-back?
It's an honor. I feel like stuff like that happens for a reason. You can't determine the future, but, the past obviously, comes up, and it's honorable to have stuff like that. We got way more stuff to achieve throughout this season.
Was it a new energy? I mean, was it a different energy? Because I don't know. You guys are trying to get back-to-back wins, I think, for the first time since week 6 or something like that, and just trying to get on that consistent track. But it felt like it was a juice from beginning to end today.
This one game, one play at a time, one quarter at a time, one half at a time. You can't win a game in one play. So I emphasize just staying consistent and staying together. And I feel like we did good with that. And then we're just going to continue to grow on that.
You gonna hold this ball on that?
Hey. Taking my running back.
Okay. Thank you.
Tim, how are you guys able to get to off the spot as much as you were today?
Well, he's small. Just getting in space, pushing the pocket. You could tell he's startled by a pocket collapse in his face, and once his first read was taken away, he kind of gets a little hesitant. And we felt that, and we try to just capitalize off that.
Was there kind of a feeling with those interceptions? You're like, yeah, that's us. We did that.
I would say that, but I feel like that's more of when we're not hitting, our other units are hitting, and that's just that's a part of good defenses, and we gotta just go. You never know how to play ends, but on the back end, if they doing their thing to elite level, it pays off. It don't matter if it's us or them.
You've been talking about it all year, like it's kind of been a pattern since you've been here and we've covered you, like lack of respect, I would say, or sleeping on. At the beginning of the year, it's like, just wait till y'all see me play. And then now you're talking about the best D-line. Is it going to be cool to get to kind of measure yourself in the next few days against Kansas City and Baltimore?
Kansas City and Baltimore know what I do. They know what I bring, and there's nothing's going to change. I got a sack on Lamar. I've been in Pat's face. I don't care. I don't care who they got blocking. I don't care who's out. I don't care who's in. I got to deal with me. That's just what it is. If you don't respect me, I'm going to make you earn it. I'm gonna make you respect me.
All right, Tim, and the most underrated aspect of that, and I think we got to revisit this. My man knows about the internet. I know he's not like real active on the internet, but he mentioned the Jalen Ramsey. Ask them, what did Jalen Ramsey say? This was Jalen Ramsey his rookie year when he went toe to toe with Steve Smith.
You know what I'm saying? The game over with. You still mad because I was locking you up? All right, go sleep on that. I ain't trying to hear that after the game.
So you vowed that he wouldn't get in your head. But you managed to get in his head, you think?
What you think? You tell me. You tell me. We climb my line up on him. Yeah, y'all go watch that. Y'all go watch that. Y'all tell me who got in who head. He came up to me after the game. You feel me? Y'all tell me who got in who head. You're an old man acting like that.
Go ask him. Go ask him. Little Jalen Ramsey action.
A little spicy there from Jalen.
Yeah, that was wild. That was a wild interview from old Jalen. Swarming the super chat before we get to a little update. On one of the scary moments from the game. Tay on the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm. Bullock was tired of chopping wood, so he laid it. Well played, my friend.
That's
a lot
good.
of wood chopping stuff.
They're big. They're big. How much do you hate the chop celebration when Chop Robinson makes a play?
It was legit. I mean, it was almost overly choreographed, like for a sack, but it was legit, and he's a hell of a player. I think
it's fine if he does it. When they all get together and do it, that's dumb.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I think you got to be winning if you're going to have it like that synchronized. Like if it's going to be that synchronized of a celebration, I think you got to be winning. But he's going to be a good player, man. He's a fool with it. Javier, on a different note, what about getting OBJ? Do you guys think it may be worth it? Will Nick pursue it? I do. Cody does not. Cody prefers Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie.
Correct.
I'm a fan though. I'm a fan of OBJ and what he could add to this squad. We have a little bit of an update on Grant DeBose, who was carted off yesterday. Just the kind of a real dismal scene at NRG. It was a little bit weird. I'll be honest, like, and this is just me and you kind of bringing the people behind the scenes. He's good, right? Like, this is good news, right?
It's good news, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, then I can say this. I didn't think that was like a clapping situation the way he was getting carted off. Like I didn't see a thumbs up. I didn't see a thumbs up. I didn't see anything, but I heard like a loud clap and I was like, what are we clapping for? This guy's jersey's ripped off. He's tied together. I didn't even know if he was alive and there was like claps.
Yeah, he's like the crowd clap started like as they raised the gurney up. And I was like, I don't know if we're at a clapping time just yet. And it was one of those situations where they had him completely tied down.
Yeah,
like tied down, arms at the side, legs down, legs straight, tied down. And then they had oxygen and they had all this other stuff hooked up to him. And then he went to, I bet they put him in the ambulance and he went straight to the hospital from there.
Yeah. But it was just kind of like, and it was good spirited. It wasn't, it was like,
no, yeah. Like
good spirited. It wasn't malicious, but it was like, I don't know.
I think because we've seen where they raise guys up and then maybe the guy throws like a thumbs up, like maybe the crowd was like hoping for that. There was no thumbs up though.
Yeah.
There was no thumbs up, but there's thumbs up news today. He's got movement in all his extremities, and initial tests have revealed positive results according to the Miami Dolphins. So positive movement. Doesn't seem to be any sort of, devastating, paralyzation or anything like that. Movement in all the extremities and initial tests have revealed positive results, and he's still in Houston. At a hospital here in Houston.
Okay, well, that's good. That's as good a news as you could hope for him and for them. So that was good. Good to hear that. I thought it was pretty tacky of Josina Anderson to try to connect the Al Shire to
that. Made no sense.
Well, and luckily it was handled right, but that was incredibly disrespectful and incredibly pathetic. And we've seen, I know Josina's a hustler and, she's been around for a while or whatever, but between the way that she covered the Watson thing and going in the locker room and trying to even make the connection to Azeez Al-Shire to Bullock, I thought that was beyond tacky. I thought that was dollar menu level stuff there, to be honest. That's not to knock the career or anything. I thought that was a rough attempt there.
Yeah. It did. If she was trying to Yeah,
It's not. It's there's no
I can't
connection
defend
to
it.
it. Like
Yeah.
that happens all the time. That was terrible. I mean, honestly, like let's just be serious. That
They're
was
not
nothing.
the same type of play. Like that's the worst part about it. Like they're
Yeah.
not even the same type of play.
Well, and I mean the Aziz for as much like regard. We don't have to revisit that, but like just the and I was fine with the suspension of Aziz and all like whatever. It is what it is. But like to make that connection and try to even like bring that to the forefront. Because I mean, if the young man trips up, and he is a young man, if he trips up and like says something like overly reactionary to that or whatever, then I mean, there's trouble. I mean, and Tim Settle said the weird comment, but I thought that was really tacky by Josina Anderson to even bring that up. I thought that was awful.
Yeah. Did you notice Tua went head first? He was afraid to slide against this Texans team.
Yeah.
That's what Josina Anderson was thinking.
And CJ kind of had a late slide there.
Oh, that was appropriately timed.
Okay.
It's appropriately. No. I mean, you didn't see any linebacker go out there and knock his block off. That was appropriately timed.
Okay. And that I feel like there's some sarcasm I'm having trouble sensing there. Cam says form to that 3 seed. I need it. Let me say this, and we'll get more into this after D'Amico talks on today's edition of S&L, which you need to subscribe to if you have not. The channel, it's in the description, so go ahead and do that. Think about what you're saying when you say you want the 3 seed before you just completely stick your chest out, because I think resting up is more important. But right now, like if you want the 3 seed, you're basically saying if you win your first playoff game, you'd rather go to Buffalo than Kansas City. And I know that then it comes with, well, if this team beats Buffalo, then then you host the AFC Championship game. That's not happening. So that's basically what you're saying, is that attempting to get that 3 seed and not leaning on the side of resting and facing Buffalo instead of Kansas City in round 2 is what you'd prefer to have. That's basically what you're saying.
Buffalo's going to get the 1 seed.
You don't think Kansas City finds a way to gut one out?
I believe Buffalo's going to get the 1 seed.
Yeah, but I think if that happens,
the Chiefs have the Texans at Steelers at Broncos left. Steelers very much in the hunt for not only
Broncos need to get in the playoffs.
Yeah. So the Chiefs have a much more difficult schedule. The Bills are only 2 games behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Chiefs have 13-1 record. The Bills are 11-3. So I believe Buffalo's going to get the bye.
If that's the case, then that completely changes the discussion. And Buffalo has the Patriots twice. Like they haven't played.
What kind of schedule did they? They have the Patriots and the Jets.
Yes.
Like what kind of like? Golly.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Like that is crazy. But yeah, if that's the case, then yeah, 3 seed. But I still am not making mix and play twice. You can go out there and try to do your thing, but I'm still not playing mix and twice. But I mean, it all starts this Saturday with the Texans Chiefs, and we'll see.
You need some help to then feel like you want to put the foot on the gas and then go for the 3. And we had the big conversation a couple weeks ago. Saturday really determines if you should put the foot on the gas or not.
Jay Mott, very polite. He says, Landry, please stop. They got their rest last week. It doesn't matter who we play or where we play. The defense is elite. Look, I'm not sitting here saying that you rest healthy guys, but when I see Joe Mixon limping around like I did yesterday and getting roughed up, and I know how dependent they are with Joe Mixon, and I see that, yeah, I don't want him playing 2 games in 9 days. It's easy for you to say they got the rest. Joe Mixon's very important. So I'm leaning on the rest. That doesn't mean that you forfeit the game. But yeah, I'm not playing Joe Mixon twice in 9 days. I'm not having him go to KC and then play. And I don't think he ends up doing that. Or if they need to rest Jimmy Ward, like Jimmy Ward gets hurt, I don't want to figure that out. So that's just me. I could be wrong, but that's just where I'm at. I'm leaning the rest. But you do make an interesting case when it comes to 3 seed. Pittsburgh's got a mofo of a schedule too. And oh, by the way, they lost TJ Watt. Hey, we'll keep an eye on that.
I mean, like I think if they end up playing those guys in one of the 2, like you obviously don't play them in week 18.
if Pittsburgh doesn't have TJ Watt, it's a wrap. Like they're not doing anything.
They might not win the division if they don't have TJ Watt down the stretch.
No, that's a wrap. Like that's someone that everyone will want to play in the playoffs if they don't have TJ Watt. That's donezo. That's a scrimmage.
Yeah.
Mark that. Damn it. So I got what?
Just like it's a scrimmage.
We've puffed on the nugs already. Now we're gonna go with the
high-grade marijuana called Kush on the street.
This is the shake. So this is the shake. These aren't
I don't
quite
know what
worthy
this
of
means.
nugs. They aren't quite worthy of nugs. You're a square. But this is kind of the shake.
What the hell is shake? Like milkshake?
Can we dump this? Like this is embarrassing. You don't know what shake is? All right.
What the hell is I've literally never heard this in my entire life.
It's not a nug. It's the shake. There's
You're
nugs.
doing
You know what a nug is?
It's a flower of marijuana.
Yeah. The shake is the stuff that breaks off of the nug.
Okay.
Yeah, like at the bottom.
Okay. How was I supposed to know that?
Just common sense, Cody. Get out and live a little bit. You
Common
square.
sense? What do I look like?
Get out and live a little bit. All right, let's get to the shake.
All right, get on, Bob Marley. What do you got for us?
Okay, should I have said weed crumbs? Like, is that what I should have said?
Sure, but I don't know what that would have meant either, I guess.
You don't know what weed crumbs would be?
What? No, I don't.
All right. Here we go. All right. NRG was popping yesterday. Shake number one. Shake ball number one. NRG was popping yesterday. Did you notice how loud it was?
The Dolphins had to call a timeout at one point.
Twice. I don't know if that's a Tua thing or that's an NRG thing, but it got really loud, and the Dolphins had to burn 2 timeouts. Not 1, but 2 timeouts. Now, would Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or even Russell Wilson have had to do that? Don't know. But NRG was popping. Next one, the next little shake. I have a question here for you, Cody. Should I cop the cap? AFC South division champs, baby. I know. Hey, got to embrace the divisions. Should I cop the cap? Yes or no? When it comes to the AFC South championship, some people frown upon those. I blame Bill O'Brien, but should I cop the cap?
What does it look like? I guess I got to take a look at it. If it looks cool, maybe, but probably not. Probably not.
Shout out to the people that didn't know. Shout out to the people that didn't know. It's all good. We're all good on this. It's all good. So cop the cap, probably not. Do we have
I'd say probably not. I don't know what to. Actually,
I think they tweeted it out. Let's see what it looks like.
I don't think it looks that bad.
All right, let's check it out.
I don't think it looks that bad. Let's see here.
Now they'll have multiples.
That's not a bad looking hat. That's not a bad looking hat at all.
What? You think that's nice?
It's not ugly.
Look at that. Like weird fabric. What is that?
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. That
raised embroidered graphics.
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks nice.
That's a no for me, dog.
That looks nice.
It's a no for me, dog. Later on in S&L, we're going to go listen to D'Amico. He speaks in less than an hour. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. We're going to get more big picture. We're going to break down the opportunity the Texans have ahead, how the rest of the division lines up, or I should say the conference, and if this was, in fact, the perfect bye week, as well as reasons for optimism, because it is playoff time. There will be playoff football in Houston. And you know what? Even if there weren't, when it comes to this Texan stuff, whether it's Reaction Monday after a dub, Reaction Monday after an L, whether you know what the shake is or you don't know what the shake is, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. Get you a milkshake if you don't know what Landry shake is. We'll talk Texans at 4:00 this afternoon on S&L.
What flavor?
Well, they got the white chocolate peppermint back at Whataburger now.